At some point in the future, you will be in a state of complete truth with absolute truth. If you're in harmony with love, it will all work out fine. But act on that basis. So, you know that desire you have to tell the person what you feel they've done wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, what's going wrong in the relationship. Honestly, a lot of times, how many times have you told somebody something? And then the next day they do it again. The next day they do it again. The next day they do it again. Why?
You already know.
Firstly, probably they already know what they're doing. Secondly, if they don't already know, they obviously don't care. And how are you going to make them care? How are you even... And it's not even about making them care even, really, in the end, is it? It's about you staying in a state of truth about what you feel yourself. You don't have to make them do anything. All you need to do is act in harmony with love yourself and just see what happens. It's not loving to continually be put up with being treated bad and giving the person chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. God does not do this. God doesn't snap you up when you make a mistake and take you away from the consequences of your actions, does she? You will always experience the consequences of your actions at the soul level. So why do you do that with others, or even yourself? Does that make sense? It's because we're not treating ourselves lovingly or others lovingly. Every time we do that, we will hurt. Anytime you hurt, it's not love that's hurting. Because in love, when you're in harmony with love, nothing hurts. God does not hurt. Does that make sense?
It does, but it hurts even more to leave.
Well, that's in disharmony with love. There's a feeling and emotion within you, Alison, that's in disharmony with love. If you're willing to sacrifice yourself and let yourself hurt because it's going to hurt even more if you leave, then both conditions are in disharmony with love. Does that make sense? It's just about why are you avoiding one hurt over the other? Because one pain is greater than the other. That's all. And do you think when you're in harmony with love you'll feel any pain? No, you won't. Does that make sense? Now it hurts sometimes to even think that, right? To even contemplate that idea. But it is a truth. God does not hurt. God always deals with us lovingly, and yet... So think about what God does with you and do the same. God's not in your ear 24/7 saying, don't do this, do that, do this, do that, don't do this, do that. Is she? What is she doing with you? She's letting you make a choice, right? You can choose to listen to her or choose to ignore. Doesn't matter. What you choose, she's happy. Right?
Obviously, God doesn't punish us or keep cleaning up all our messes or doing things out of anger or things like that. Obviously, if we're feeling anger when we're trying to do something to teach somebody else a lesson, then
that's
there's
in
emotion.
disharmony with love too. Does that make sense? So if I'm feeling angry, I need to first go away, deal with my anger, then come back and deal with the situation after the anger's all gone. Yeah? Because if I'm angry, I'm in disharmony with love already. Yeah? So God doesn't feel that either. Does that make sense? Now I know this all might sound like way out there, but this is all possible living here on earth. This is all possible. You can be in this state. It just takes some learning about love. You see, what happens a lot is that we have so many distorted views about love. Let's call them love, in quotations, distortions. Or you could call them love errors, right? We actually believe this love that we have to be true. But if the results are, through the law of attraction, if the love hurts, then what does that tell us?
It's not true love.
It's not true love. There's something about love I'm not getting. Does that make sense? Now, just to give you an illustration in my own life, there was this lady in my life for a period of 7 years. I spent one day every month with her for the first 3 years. So I put up with her wanting to not be with me for 29 or 30 days of the month and just coming and visiting me one day a month. Right? And after she left, every time I'd have a big cry and I'd write and type on my computer all the things about, how I was feeling and all that kind of stuff. I was hurting heaps, right? So what was I doing? I was believing something about love that wasn't true. Love wouldn't have done that. Does that make sense? After 7 years of this, she left me during this relationship probably 40 times, maybe a bit more, right? So she left me and I went through these terrible emotions 30 or 40 times, real huge emotions of rejection and loneliness and all of those emotions, right? Now, it hurt me tremendously. Does that make sense? Emotionally, that's how it felt for me. Then I had this realisation one day. I was wanting the wrong person to love me.
Ooh, that's not right.
Now, I know it sounds like a basic thing, right? But it took me 7 years to get, right? Now, the distortion I had within myself was that love would continue putting up with all of this. Does that make sense? That love hopes, and this viewpoint, love hopes, is a big viewpoint on earth today. But the truth is that love was hurting me, so therefore there was something that I needed to learn about love that I didn't know. And what it turned out being was, firstly, I wasn't choosing God to love me. I wasn't choosing someone who could love me to love me. I was choosing someone who couldn't love me to love me. And when you do that, you're going to hurt. Does that make sense? Because they're never going to be able to love you until they make a decision to do something about it, which may be never, right? And in the end, what's going to happen is I'm going to hurt over and over and over and over again until I get the truth that I need to focus love on someone who can love me, not on someone who can't. Right now, who can't right now. Now, the way I viewed it in my mind was, this girl's a wonderful girl, and sooner or later, if I do the right thing and I say the right things and I help her with her emotions, and particularly in my case, I was focused on trying to help her with her emotions and so forth, right? To eventually to love me, right? Doing all of these things. The more that happened, the more she left. Right? And she could cheat on me and leave, and I was fine with that. When I say fine with it, I had to cry for a month or two, right? But I would still accept it back again. Right? Over and over again. Now, why would I do that? Because I had a distortion, a deep distortion in my own soul about what love was.
You'd rather be right and happy.
Well, yeah, and not only that, I wasn't even right. Right? Because
you think you're right.
I thought what I was doing was love, but it wasn't. It wasn't love at all. Because love doesn't hurt. And then once I understood that, does God hurt? No. This is what went through my mind eventually. Eventually, when I say 7 years later, right? And does God hurt? Is God always loving? Yes. Does God hurt? No. Why doesn't God hurt? When you love someone and they don't return your love, how do you feel? Rejected and hurt. Why doesn't God feel that?
God has divine truth.
Well, no, because God doesn't want the love of somebody who doesn't want to love God. Does that make sense? God doesn't want the love of somebody who doesn't want to love God.
So he doesn't love atheists?
No.
He does.
God doesn't want the love of an atheist when the atheist chooses to not love God. Does that make sense? When the atheist chooses to love God, then God wants their love. Does that make sense? This is one thing about the truth about love. Love does not want the other person. What love wants is for the other person to exercise their free will. This is what God wants. God wants you to exercise your free will. So if you don't want to love God, then God's happy with that. God doesn't get sad about that. Because if God got sad about that, there'd be 6 billion people making God sad. Maybe not that many, but quite a lot. When you add up all the people in the spirit world who don't want God and all the people on earth who don't want God, there'd be a lot of unhappiness for God. If God was unhappy, right? God would be one depressed, constant crying God. That's not what God's like, right? So if I believe that love hurts, and I did believe that love hurts, that was a belief within my soul, I had to release that emotionally. It took 7 years of hurting for me to release that emotion. Does that make sense?
Was it your law of attraction that was bringing her?
Totally. It would bring her back every time, right? Because she was the ideal person.
To trigger something you weren't doing.
That's right. Perfect. She was the perfect. And I look at her now, and I feel a lot of love towards her because she was the ideal person to actually trigger all of my injuries about love. Yeah.